When you hear the words ancient and Mediterranean, two things immediately come to mind: the Roman Empire and, of course, the Greeks. Throughout history, the Greeks have lived in and around the crossroads between Europe, Northern Africa, and the Middle East, living along mountains and plenty of miles of the seashores. Their position among topography has conditioned the things they own: the fauna, the fish, the plants, spices, and produce. Their geographical position, being in the middle of such a great crossroad, has affected the culture, the types of people who live there, the religion they adhere to, and the things they do. Having such a long, rich, and detailed history, there lie many things to explore in the realm of the Greeks, and today we intend to show you some of the Greek tradition, but most importantly, the type of food that this brings.
He's going to get a gyro.
First, we will start with some history. Everyone is familiar with Greek mythology, grand stories of supernatural beings shaping the natural world as they knew it. Greece was always warm, had plenty of rolling mountains, and was never short of access to water. Thanks to these conditions, Greece was able to grow an abundance of grapes. Not only could these be eaten, but they're also used in the production of wine. Wine was very popular among the Greeks, and being that this is still ancient Greece we're talking about, they of course had a god for it. Dionysus, the ancient Greek god of wine, had a dedicated festival known as Dionysia, full of dancing, music, passionate and spontaneous lovemaking, and of course, plenty of food and drink. This festival was not observed forever, however, as eventually Greece adopted Orthodox Christianity and left all their previous, really specific gods behind in exchange for just one omnipotent one, and that is how it remains to this day. Although the purpose of the festival has changed completely, the atmosphere is largely the same. We welcome you to Apokries, essentially the Greek Mardi Gras and Halloween combined into one. Apokries and Mardi Gras are alike in purpose. It is a time to let loose, binge, and party before you give up something for Lent. Giving up meats, sweets, and alcohol, you can bet you'll be enjoying all three during Apokries. As you know, no Mardi Gras is complete without a great, indulgent, and sinfully delicious meal, and no Halloween is complete without a sweet treat. Today, we'll be showing you a little bit of what you might find during Apokries, a little bit of both.
Hi, I'm Alexis. We're going to be making a traditional Greek gyro for this video. The recipe I found online at landolakes.com. First thing we're going to need is we need 6 ounces of the plain Greek yogurt. You're going to need fresh dill. It's an herb. You can usually find this in your local grocery store. And cucumber. I'm just going to try and make sure that it's not a lot of big chunks. We're going to continue doing this until we got half a cup. Alright, now we've got half a cup of this. The next part is 2 teaspoons of finely chopped fresh dill. Alright, for dill, you're going to cut the stems off and discard those. And I want to make sure we get this measurement right, because fresh herbs are stronger than their dried counterparts. They can get all of their ingredients from local farmers. I'm going to go ahead and add that directly to the cucumber. Those are 2 teaspoons. Alright, so the next part is 1 teaspoon of the red wine vinegar. I'm using Bertolli to give it more of that natural feel from the area. Vinegar is very strong, so we don't want to use even a drop more, okay? So we're going to put this in here. It's already smelling like a salad dressing, actually. Now we're going to put in the 6 ounces of the Greek yogurt and mix this all together. Right, we should be at that 6 ounce mark now. So we're going to take all of this and place it in here. Now, we're going to stir this all together. Now, tzatziki, they don't just use for gyros, they use for a lot of stuff. You can use this as actually a dip for crackers or chips, whatever, at a party. That's it for the tzatziki sauce. And then after that, we're going to start on the actual meat. They use a lot of lamb, pork, and chicken, but as that's actually hard to get around here for decent prices, I'm going to cook it with beef, which is also still very common. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to cook up the meat. Now it requires 2 tablespoons of the Land O'Lakes butter. We're going to add that to the skillet first. We're going to put that in here. I'm gonna get melting at low heat. I'm gonna put it at about 6.5 with that melt. And then after that, it's gonna require a single teaspoon of finely chopped fresh garlic. All right, I've already chopped it up. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna wait for this butter to melt. We're gonna spread it throughout the whole thing. All right, that's melted enough for me to go ahead and add the rest. So we need 1 teaspoon of this. We're gonna need a single teaspoon of dried oregano. All right, so next we're gonna add half a teaspoon of salt and half a teaspoon of pepper. And at this point, we're just cooking up the seasonings. It's going to be cooking into the meat, so it's like a salt, pepper to taste. Stir that up real well all together. Now, all that is all mixed together, we're going to turn it up to 8. We're going to add in this meat. We're gonna use a nice Angus sirloin. Alright, we're going to let this cook up for a little bit, alright? The next part is once the meat's fully cooked, you're gonna top it off and stir in a tablespoon of lemon zest. Now that's gonna be roughly about 2 lemons about this size. Now this turns out to be more than 1 tablespoon. We're gonna stick with just the 1 tablespoon. Alright, and I was right, this is gonna turn out to be more than 1, or we're gonna leave it at just the 1 tablespoon. Alright, our meat is almost done. I'm going to turn this down some though so it doesn't toughen up too much. Just smelling this and it smells amazing already. What we're going to do while that is going to finish cooking is we're going to make the relish. Now it calls for another half cup of cucumber, but I'm only going to cut up a little bit because there's plenty in that relish. And I'm not actually eating all of this right now. I can only gonna eat maybe 1 or 2, so I'm gonna cut up enough for that. Since this is not the tzatziki, I'm not gonna cut it up in real small bits, though it does say finely chop it again, but to each their own. Alright, that there should be enough of the cucumber. Before I do the rest, I'm gonna stir this meat up. And it looks like it's done. So I'm going to turn this down on the low, and I am going to sprinkle this full tablespoon of lemon. Now we're going to stir it in so that all the meat is fully covered. Alright. You can smell the garlic, you can smell the oregano. Can't smell the butter, but that's a good thing. That means we didn't use too much. Now this is good to go. We're going to set this lid on top. I got it on low to make sure it stays nice and hot. We're going to go ahead and finish up that relish. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut these tomatoes into quarters. Now again, these are topping our gyros, so since I'm only going to eat about 1 or 2 for right now, I'm only going to cut up enough for those. I'm going to add them straight to the cucumber. Now the Greeks, even before they had other empires bring in ingredients, they already grew a lot of fruits and vegetables. They're a Mediterranean country, so their climate is very, very good for this. They have fresh ones all year long. However, tomatoes were not indigenous. They were actually brought over from the Americas, but they're still used quite a lot in it due to the fact that they're able to grow very well. There you go. And now we're gonna get us feta cheese. I got mine from Harris Teeter. They have quite a few different types, but I'm gonna go straight for the traditional Greek gyro meat traditional feta cheese. All right, our relish is done. We're gonna heat up our flatbread. I am just going to lay it on a plate, pop it in the microwave for about 15 seconds. I'm going to go the fast routes today, so I'm just going to microwave it. But you can put it on the flat top, get just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, just enough to coat the bottom, drain out any excess, and put it on the stove top at like 5. Make sure the pan is nice and hot to the touch before you put this on here. Leave it on there about 10 seconds. maybe 15 before you flip it to the other side. Leave it there for enough time. You don't want to brown each side, you just want it enough to heat it up. So now that the meat's done, I made the relish, the tzatziki sauce. What we're gonna do is we're gonna build the gyro. Alright, now you spread this, and we're gonna put our meat on here. Alright, we're gonna add our relish. I'm gonna try and get this nice and even. There you go. Now you just fold them up and you eat them. Alright, and that's our traditional Greek gyros.
So here I am. I have the ingredients for keftedes arni, I believe it's pronounced. A recipe for Greek meatballs I found on the internet. The link to the recipe you can find in the link below. So here I have, this is about 1.5 pounds of beef. Now usually it says to do 1 pound of beef and half a pound of lamb, but lamb's kind of difficult to find around here. So then I also have 1/4 cup of panko crumbs to give it a bit of a crispy texture. 4 ounces of feta cheese crumbles, 1 egg. This is an entire 1/4 cup of parsley flakes. Guess you can never add too much of that. And right here you have 1 tablespoon of crushed up garlic. Now, making this is actually pretty easy, kind of similar to cookies, surprisingly. But really, all of the ingredients you see here go directly into this bowl and are stirred up and turned into meatballs. Now, as I was saying about this being a little bit like making cookies, really all the ingredients you saw there went directly into this bowl here. And from here, this is where you can add salt and pepper to taste or any other seasonings, which I will show you what I like to use. So here's what I did, and this is what the sort of spice mixture looks like. This is, of course, black pepper, salt, but I also added chili powder, some onion powder, and also paprika to give it a little bit of a spicy flavor to it, something interesting. It'll stand out a little bit. And so what you want to do is you just have this entire mixture seasoning here, you dump it right in. Also totally optional, but just add a little bit more of Mediterranean flair to it and also make them slightly juicier. I'm going to add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Easy. And now, depending on how squeamish you are about touching wet, goopy stuff, this can either be the really fun part or the really disgusting part, because what you gotta do now is just kind of knead the whole thing until it looks like a unified kind of seasoned chunk of meat. So I'll do that. Can't really do that with one hand, and I gotta hold the camera, so I'll cut back when it's done. Alright, so now that that's done, your hands are probably covered in meat and a whole lot of grease, and they're really slippery. So before you start working on this, I would recommend having a bottle of Dawn dish soap nearby. That'll get the stuff right off your hands. So you do that, and then what we're going to do next is we're just going to shape this into little meatballs and put them onto a lightly greased tray. Right, and then just like you would do with cookies, you roll these into balls and place them evenly on the baking sheets. Depending on how large you want them, you know, this can take anywhere from 1 to 2 pans. Larger ones cook slower, but you know, then again, you'll have more to eat later, so I'd recommend doing that and just waiting a little bit longer for it. Now that the oven is heated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, we'll go ahead and put these in for about 30 minutes. Check on them then, and if they're nice and brown looking, that'll mean they are done. And the final answer is yes, these taste amazing. Now, the dolma is something implemented by the Ottoman Turks who ruled over Greece for a while, made up of something that the Greeks have a lot of: grape leaves. Now, as stated earlier, as years went by, new ingredients made their way into Greece. The dolmas are frequently stuffed with onions, rice, dill, peppers, and other such vegetables. And so, since I'm going to be a little bit of a crunch for time, I think I'll just cut to the chase and show you the beautifully crafted final product. So, and voila! A generations-old secret recipe, totally handmade, totally beautifully handcrafted, most importantly, delicious. So the dolmas, whether you're making them at home or asking for a little bit of help from your grandmother, they're a great treat for at home, make a great appetizer, and a great side for your meals. And so this concludes our video. We hope we may have inspired you to try some Greek cuisine, and possibly explore further into the nation's huge culinary culture. Thank you for watching.